In the first 2 episodes, we watched hit and miss engines go from invention to necessity to the machines that powered everyday life. Now comes the part that makes them legendary. Because hit and miss engines are not just old engines, they are mechanical logic, a system that decides moment by moment whether the engine should fire or coast. And it does it with nothing but metal, motion, and physics. Here's the strange thing about a hit and miss engine. When it is doing light work, it often sounds lazy. It fires once, then it breathes, then it coasts, then suddenly it fires again like it woke up. To a modern engine, that behavior would sound like a problem, but on a hit and miss engine, that behavior is the entire point. It is not failing to run, it is choosing when to run. A hit and miss engine has one main job: hold a steady speed without wasting fuel. Modern engines do this by throttling airflow, changing mixture, adjusting timing, and constantly feeding the engine even when it is barely working. Hit and miss engines took a different approach. They run full cycles only when needed. And when they do not need power, they skip firing cycles completely. That is the hit. And that is the miss. To understand the miss, you first need the hit. Most classic hit and miss engines are 4-stroke engines. That means 1 power stroke for every 4 piston strokes. Intake, compression, power, exhaust. On a firing cycle, the engine pulls a fresh fuel air charge into the cylinder, compresses it, ignites it, and the expanding gases push the piston down to make power. Then the exhaust stroke pushes the burnt gases out. Nothing unusual so far. The key difference is how these engines decide whether the next cycle should be a normal firing cycle or a coast cycle. That decision is made by the governor. This is the detail that explains everything. On many classic hit and miss engines, the intake valve is not opened by a cam, it is an atmospheric intake valve. Think of it like a one-way valve with a light spring holding it shut. It only opens when the piston creates a vacuum in the cylinder on the intake stroke. Vacuum pulls it open, no vacuum means it stays closed. So the engine does not automatically inhale fuel and air every time the piston goes down. It inhales only when the conditions are right. Now we get to the miss. When the engine is running faster than the set speed, the governor activates a latch mechanism. On most classic hit and miss engines, that latch holds the exhaust valve open. Not the intake, the exhaust. And this one action changes everything. With the exhaust valve held open, the cylinder cannot build compression, and more importantly, the piston cannot create a strong vacuum on the intake stroke. No vacuum means the atmospheric intake valve does not open, so no fresh fuel air charge enters the cylinder. The engine is basically just moving air in and out through the exhaust while the flywheels keep it spinning. That is the miss cycle. No fuel drawn in, no compression, no combustion, just coasting on stored momentum. A hit and miss engine needs something modern engines do not rely on as much: a heavy energy buffer. That is why these engines have those massive flywheels. On a hit cycle, the power stroke accelerates the crankshaft and loads energy into the flywheels. On the next strokes, and especially during miss cycles, the flywheels give that energy back. They keep the crank turning smoothly when the engine is not firing. So the flywheels are not just there for show, they are the battery of the engine, a mechanical battery. And that is how the engine can coast for multiple cycles without stalling. Here is the genius part. The engine is always trying to maintain an average speed. When the load is light, the engine speeds up. The governor latches the exhaust valve open and the engine starts missing. But the moment the load increases or friction and work begin to slow the flywheels down, speed drops. Once speed drops under the governor set point, the governor releases the latch. The exhaust valve closes again. Now the piston can create vacuum on the intake stroke. The intake valve opens, a fresh charge enters, compression returns, and the next time ignition occurs, the engine hits again. This is why hit and miss engines feel almost alive. They are constantly sensing speed and reacting, but it is not electronics, it is pure mechanics. Weights, springs, linkages, and timing. Mechanical feedback control, a century before microcontrollers. Now, let's clear up one of the biggest sources of arguments. Ignition systems varied a lot. Early engines often used low-tension make-and-break ignition, sometimes called an igniter. Instead of a spark plug firing across a gap, an internal set of contacts would open at the right moment and create an arc at the contacts. It is a very different style of ignition than modern spark plugs. Later engines used spark plugs with battery and coil systems, including trembler coils that rapidly interrupt current to generate high voltage. That buzzing coil sound is part of what many people associate with old engines. And many engines later use magnetos, which generate their own ignition power without a battery. Because of these differences, not every hit and miss engine handled ignition the same way during the miss cycle. Some designs also prevent ignition from firing while the engine is latched out. Others do not need to, because with no fresh charge and no compression, there is nothing meaningful to ignite anyway. So if someone says, this engine kills spark, and someone else says, no it doesn't, both can be right depending on the engine design. Another important point, not every hit and miss engine is identical. Most are 4-stroke, but there were also 2-stroke versions. Different manufacturers use different latching systems, different governor linkages, and different valve train layouts. But the core idea stays consistent. A governor maintains speed by allowing full power hits when needed and skipping firing cycles when not needed. That is why these engines were so efficient for the kind of work they did. They were not wasting fuel just to sit there spinning. They only burned fuel when the load demanded it. Now you can see why hit and miss engines took over farms and workshops. Farm work is not a steady load. A pump changes resistance. A belt-driven machine grabs and releases. A saw bites into wood, then clears. Loads rise and fall constantly. A throttle-governed engine has to keep feeding the engine even when the work drops off. A hit and miss engine can simply stop firing until the next moment it is needed. That saved fuel, it reduced heat, it reduced wear, and it made the engine feel unstoppable. Not because it was powerful, but because it was efficient at being useful. So when you watch one of these engines run, you are not just watching combustion, you are watching a decision being made. Hit, miss, all controlled by a governor, an exhaust valve latch, an automatic intake valve, and the momentum of giant flywheels. And once you understand that, you understand why people still restore them, still run them, and still gather around them like they are alive. In the next episode, we are going to look at the most extreme versions of this idea. The biggest engines, the rarest designs, and the machines that pushed hit and miss technology to its limits.
Together,